for the most part. So since I'm a writer, I thought I would just read a short piece of writing, and then we can talk about anything that you want to talk about. So this is called Shaheen Bagh is everywhere, every day, every minute, every woman. It's a great pleasure for me to be attending this most special film festival. On the 12th of November last year, just about 2 months ago, I delivered a lecture about the NRC, predominantly about the NRC and the CAA. It was called Intimations of an Ending. It was one of my most despairing moments. Let me just read to you the last few sentences of that lecture. So I'm quoting myself. I said, "We can only hope that someday soon the streets in India will throng with people who realize that unless they make their move, the end is close. If that doesn't happen, consider these words to be intimations of an ending from one who lived through these times." Within 2 months, that bleakness, my bleakness, has turned into exhilaration. Well, exhilaration, or sometimes I think of it as cautious optimism, depends on the day of the week. Within days of the Citizenship Amendment Bill being passed, the students rose. AMU, Jamia, JNU, Jadavpur University. They showed us what courage and solidarity means. They showed us that this is a battle between those who know how to think and those who know how to hate. A battle between lovers and haters. And now we have Shaheen Bagh. Everywhere, every day, every minute, every woman. The protests that are blossoming on the streets, the songs, the solidarity, the poetry, and most of all the fact that they are being led by women. It's amazing. My salutes to every single one of us who is out there on the streets. But even as we speak, the Chief Minister of UP has unleashed a reign of terror. More than 20 people have been killed so far. The injured are not being taken to hospital for fear of having cases registered against them. Last week at a public tribunal, I heard testimonies of how the police are entering people's homes, terrorizing and looting them. Doctors are refusing to treat the injured. This doesn't even happen in war zones, but UP is a war zone. Its chief minister has openly sworn revenge. His enemy is the people in general and Muslims in particular. Dilip Ghosh, BJP president of West Bengal, is simultaneously envious and proud of the UP model. He stands by his, quote, "We shot them like dogs" comment. For the sake of the nation, he says. On what grounds can we continue to call ourselves a democracy? Today also marks the 171st day of the internet shutdown in Kashmir. They say everything is normal in Kashmir. Those of us who are familiar with Kashmir know that normalcy is always a declaration by the establishment, not by the people. So why won't they lift the siege if everything is normal? Why won't they withdraw the army? The new proposal of allowing people access only to a handful of government-approved websites, but no news and no social media, makes even the worst tin pot banana republic look civilized. A firewalled internet is probably the future for us all. And now the Chief of Defense Staff has raised the issue of de-radicalization camps. But what about the millions of children who are being indoctrinated in RSS camps and schools? Does the general have a plan for them too? What kind of shameful country are we becoming? Right now, 7 million people in the Valley of Kashmir, overwhelming numbers of whom do not seem to wish to be citizens of India and have fought for decades for their right to self-determination, are locked down under a digital siege and the densest military deployment in the world. Simultaneously, in Assam, almost 2 million people who long to belong to India have found their names missing from the National Register of Citizens and risk being declared stateless. The violence of inclusion and the violence of exclusion are precursors of a convulsion that could alter the foundations of India and rearrange its meaning and place in the world. The Constitution calls India a secular socialist republic. In practice, India has been neither secular nor socialist. In effect, it has always functioned as an upper caste Hindu state. But the conceit of secularism, hypocritical though it may be, is the only shard of coherence that makes India possible. That hypocrisy was the best thing we had. Without it, India will end. In his May 2019 victory speech after his party won a second term, Modi boasted that no politicians from any political party had dared to use the word secularism in their campaigns. The tank of secularism, Modi said, was now empty. So it's official. India is running on empty. And we are learning too late to cherish hypocrisy, because with it comes a vestige, a pretense at least, of remembered decency. India is not really a country, it's a continent. More complex and diverse, with more languages, 780 at last count, excluding dialects, more nationalities and subnationalities, more indigenous tribes and religions than all of Europe. Imagine this vast ocean, this fragile, fractious social ecosystem suddenly being commanded by a Hindu supremacist organization that believes in a doctrine of one nation, one language, one religion, one constitution. I'm speaking here of the RSS. If Nazi Germany was a country seeking to impose its imagination onto a continent and beyond, the impetus of an RSS-ruled India is in a sense the opposite. Here is a continent seeking to shrink itself into a country, not even a country, but a province, a primitive ethno-religious province. This is turning out to be an unimaginably violent process, a kind of slow-motion political fission triggering radioactivity that has begun to contaminate everything around it. That it will self-destruct is not in doubt. The question is, what else, who else, and how much else will go down with it? We are being told that the India-wide NRC is an exercise to detect several million Bangladeshi infiltrators, termites, as our Home Minister likes to call them. What does he imagine language like this will do to India's relationship with Bangladesh? My father's family is originally from Bangladesh, so I'm half termite. Once again, phantom figures that run into the tens of millions are being thrown around. There is no doubt that there are a great many undocumented workers from Bangladesh and India. There's also no doubt that they make up one of the poorest, most marginalized populations in the country. Anybody who claims to believe in the free market should know that they're only filling a vacant economic slot by doing work that others will not do for wages nobody else will accept. They do an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. They're not the ones destroying the country, stealing public money, or bankrupting the banks. They are only a decoy, a Trojan horse for the RSS's real objective, its historical mission. The real purpose of an all-India NRC coupled with the CAA is to threaten, destabilize, and stigmatize the Indian Muslim community, particularly the poorest among them. It is meant to create a tiered citizenship in which one set of citizens has no rights and lives at the mercy or the goodwill of another. A modern caste system which will exist alongside the ancient one, in which Muslims are the new Dalits, not notionally but actually, legally. In places like West Bengal, where the BJP is on an aggressive takeover drive, suicides have already begun. But here is M.S. Golwalkar, the supreme leader of the RSS in 1940, writing in his book, We or Our Nationhood Defined, quote, "Ever since that evil day when Muslims first landed in Hindustan, right up to the present moment, the Hindu nation has been gallantly fighting to take on these despoilers. The race spirit has been awakening. In Hindustan, land of the Hindus, lives and should live the Hindu nation. All others are traitors and enemies to the national cause, or, to take a charitable view, idiots. The foreign races in Hindustan may stay in the country wholly subordinated to the Hindu nation, claiming nothing, deserving no privileges, far less any preferential treatment, not even citizens' rights. And he continues, to keep up the purity of its race and culture, Germany shocked the world by her purging the country of the Semitic races, the Jews. Race pride at its highest has been manifested here, a good lesson for us in Hindustan to learn and profit by. How do you translate this in modern times, if not as the National Register of Citizens coupled with the Citizenship Amendment Bill? This is the RSS's version of Germany's 1935 Nuremberg laws, by which German citizens were only those who had been granted citizenship papers, legacy papers, by the government of the Third Reich. The amendment against Muslims is the first such amendment. Others will no doubt follow against Christians, Dalits, communists. The foreigners' tribunals and detention centers that have already started springing up across India may not at the moment be intended to accommodate hundreds of millions of Muslims and other people, but they are meant to remind us that India's Muslims truly belong there, unless they can produce legacy papers, because only Hindus are considered India's real aboriginals who don't need those papers. Even the 4-century-old Babri Masjid didn't have the right legacy papers. What chance would a poor farmer or street vendor have? And of course, as we know, I spent time traveling in Assam, and ultimately when they cast you onto that ocean of documentation, nobody has the papers. So it's not just Muslims, but everybody who is going to be a criminal or illegal until they can prove themselves to the state. The onus has just shifted. This is the wickedness that the President of the United States linked hands with Modi to support at the Howdy Modi show. It's what Israelis want to partner with, the Germans want to trade with, the French want to sell fighter jets to, and the Saudis want to fund. Perhaps the whole process of the All India NRC can be privatized, including the data bank with our iris scans. The employment opportunities and accompanying profits might revive the dying economy. The detention centers could be built by the Indian equivalents of Siemens, Bayer, and IG Farben. It isn't hard to guess what corporations those will be. Even if we don't get to the Zyklon B stage, there's plenty of money to be made. Before I end, I want to say two things. First, the National Population Register is going to be the database for the National Citizens Register of Citizens. It must be collectively boycotted. Second, this government is only a few months into its second term. It has a brute majority in Parliament. We have to prevail on the chief ministers of all non-BJP states to refuse to implement the CAA, the NRC, as well as the NPR. India has a choice of deep federalism, or it will run the risk of balkanization. Thank you.